Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley from Variety. Before we're joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation today is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. So if you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and you need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce actor Nicole Kidman of Being the RICARDOS. Thank you so much for being here. And in addition to as I just said, this conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. It's kind of interesting because you've been a big supporter of the SAG Foundation and the COVID Relief Fund. So in a way, this conversation today is made possible thanks to you.
Partly with me, but I'm happy. It's my, it's part of the give back that you have to contribute. And I'm so glad they're doing the work and helping. So many people in our industry have been greatly affected, as we all know. So,
well, thank you so much for being such a big and long time supporter, and congratulations on your
always until while I'm on the earth.
And this is your 15th SAG Award nomination for Being the RICARDOS. That is insane to me. It's such a cliche question, but I love to ask, how did you get the news?
I was here in Australia, which is where I am right now. And I woke up pretty early, around 6 a.m. and there was this flurry of texts, and it's a great way to receive something like that because you get to digest. And I'm with my husband in the kitchen and we're like, oh, and I say to him, I got nominated. And we're still like kids. We still celebrate like that. So he's obviously not an actor, but he's able to, as an artist, really go, that's amazing. So it's kind of nice. And then I call and go, hi, I'm so, to different people. So grateful. So I say that now. I'm incredibly grateful for it. It means so much to me, and the acknowledgement means so much, and particularly for this role, particularly for this. And I remember I also I called Lucy Arnaz, who is Lucille Ball's daughter. Yeah. And I say to her, this is yours too, so, and I really feel that because that's how we acknowledge her mother, which I know sounds all weird and everything, but I am a bit weird.
And I think that's
amazing. I'll own it.
Truly. So Being the RICARDOS comes to us from the great Aaron Sorkin. How did the project find its way to you, and what did you know or think you knew about Lucille Ball prior to accepting the role?
I mean, it found its way to me as an actor through my agent. Thank you. And I think he'd sort of put me forward for it, and Aaron had sort of processed it, and then he came and said, actually, I think you'd be really good for this, and and would you Zoom with me, because it was in the middle of the pandemic, so instead of going in and talking about it that way. So it was kind of like an audition in a weird way, because it was like going, hi Aaron, and here I am, and I know I don't really look like her, and on the camera and everything. But he was so generous and kind, and he was like, I would really love you to do this. And I'm like, yes, okay. And as is my nature, I'm like, jump in, spontaneous, immediate, yes. And then I look back and go, uh-oh, what have I done? Now I've got to do all the work. And it's a lot of work. It just is, to play her properly and to understand her and her mind, because I didn't know anything about her. I knew the show and nothing about Lucille Ball. I didn't even know about Desi Productions. I didn't know any of that story, which was a really good thing not to know the story in a way, because I was able to be the recipient of the story and go, this is a great story. This is actually worth telling, because so much of it was things I didn't know. So
surprised to learn that it was all true, because sometimes, because it's such great entertainment, sometimes I'm like shocked to learn that these things really happened. And I know that Erin compresses time, but
Yeah.
this is a pretty accurate representation of her life.
Well, that was my question is, well, I actually thought the final moments, with the, when Desi calls and the man on the end of the phone is Hoover, I thought that was all dramatic license.
Me
Did
too.
you? Yeah.
I totally did.
So I was shocked when he said, no, that happened. And I'm like, really? This is fantastic. It made me love Desi. I mean, what a fantastic thing to do to protect his wife. And how brilliant, right? As Aaron says, the question he would have loved to ask Desi is, how did you know, Hoover? Right? How could you call him like that? So those things are not answered. But in terms of just the having to battle the network to be allowed to be pregnant on screen, I didn't know that either. And then when she had the baby, it was the highest rating show. Crazy, right? But they had to fight for that. I had no idea she was accused of being a communist. All of this, which I have to, I'm embarrassed I didn't know these things about this extraordinary woman.
One of the scenes that for some reason just resonated so much with me is when she's given like one of the greatest performances of her life in The Big Street, and she thinks that this is going to be a new chapter of her career, and instead she's let go from her contract. And that was absolutely heartbreaking. I don't know if, when you read it on the page, you felt that pain.
As an actor, when you read a scene like that, and actors will understand this, it's extraordinary to come in with that arc. So you come in with the hope and the excitement and kind of, a sense of, I've got this, to then have the complete 360, it goes, whew, and she's not only told, no, the film didn't, it didn't do what we wanted to do, but she's also told, we're stopping your contract and you're too old. So it's like, and then she has to sort of, but it's got a great last line, that scene, which I won't say now, but that's great writing. And as an actor, that's what you go, thank you. Give me the arcs, give me this in the writing, and then let me go and imbue it with all of the other things. But to have the writing there where you're not struggling to construct a scene because it's there. That's really exciting. And that is the blessing of somebody like Aaron, who obviously is a playwright as well. So he has that construct. He knows how to give you the arcs. And each scene, I mean, there's so many scenes in this that you can just go, oh, and this one, and the time jumping. So playing two roles and then also playing Lucille Ball when she's older and playing her when she's younger, and defining each one of those moments when she first meets Desi, her age, when she's fired, her age, when all of the different parts of it, that's just the tapestry of that is really exciting. And it's really hard too. And, but that's what we do. And that's what Javier and I were like, oh, I mean, the idea of playing them younger and older when they meet, when the marriage is really under duress, when she gets a huge break, all of these, when one of my favorite scenes is sitting at the pool and he comes out and she's sort of been drinking and she's smoking and she's reading, these scripts, and she's like, this is just crap. And he's like, but you're lucky to have the opportunity to do that even. Yeah. I'm not getting that opportunity. And that's in the marriage, complicated, fantastic scenes and relationships.
Obviously.
And then you throw in, I can't stop talking.
No, please. We're here.
I've had coffee.
You go.
But it's exciting. And then you throw in, these extraordinary supporting actors with amazing scenes. I mean, JK, that scene at the bar, and I called JK a Sorkin actor. I mean, his ability to handle language and just like nail it. And he never shows any sort of anxiety, JK. Nina and I, meanwhile, Nina Arianda, who plays Vivian Vance, and Ethel, two roles, is fabulous. And she and I would be like calling, going, can we rehearse on the phone? And give me the tenure of your voice. What's your voice going to sound like? That's how we had to rehearse, because it was during a pandemic, you know. And JK would just be like, I think I'm willing to run lines, or we'll do a read through, and then, you know, I just want to shoot it. So it's really interesting, all the different actors and the way in which they each approached it. But everyone had done their homework. Like we were all terrified to the point where we did so much homework and prep so that when we came in, we were ready to go. And even then we'd be sweating. Like I'd look over at Tony Hale and we'd be like, are we going to get fired? I literally remember having that conversation with Tony. No. I feel like I'm letting, and I'm like, you're not going to, I'm going to. So it was just like, because we would have days where we were just so anxious and feel like we weren't delivering at all.
Where did you even begin with your preparation? I mean, did you start from the external or the internal? Because, you know, you can do everything with costumes and hair and makeup, but I imagine it starts even before that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I suppose everybody's different. For me, it started with entering Lucy, because that was the thing I was most, and it was written in the screenplay, you know, and then there's the show, the black and white footage of the show, and it was written in, and you come into her head and she sees this. And so I was like, well, that's going to be a massive part of the film. You know, it'll be 20 minutes at least. And I think it's only 8 minutes, but I prepared all of those scenes beginning to end. So every scene that you see a snippet of from the black and white footage, I actually can do the whole scene from beginning to end, because you can't come in and just do, and Aaron didn't know what part of it he was going to grab, you know, or use. So that was just really important to have that in my arsenal, so that if he suddenly said, no, I want to see the whole scene, I'm going to shoot it all in one take, I could deliver that. But I put months of work into that. And then Aaron sort of chose what grabs he was going to put into and, you know, even the walking to the mantle and smoking and all of that, every movement there is the same as in the show. But we all of us as actors, we could do that exactly how it is in the show.
I would love to see
vocally.
That. You should all go on.
We have the outtakes. We have the outtakes. Yeah.
So did you think of Lucy and Lucille as two different characters while making the film? Like there's the Lucy.
Well, he really defined it like that. I mean, Aaron, I didn't initially. I was like, oh, yeah. And Aaron was really definitive vocally. He's like, no. Lucille Ball is very different. And the younger Lucille Ball is also very different, because there's the Lucille Ball that's hugely successful with the pressure of the I Love Lucy show and 60 million viewers and all of those, versus the Lucille Ball who's trying to get a job or trying to get a gig. You know, there's the bruised, battered Lucille when she's got the makeup on and she's just a sort of on the sidelines and she's completely obsessed with him, with Desi. You know, there's all those little tidbits. And then when I ask him out on the date, which is a scene I really love, or he asked me, and the writing in that is just so exquisite, but it's so wonderful just to stand there, smoke the cigarette and kind of flirt with him. But she doesn't flirt in a coquettish way, Lucille. Mm-hmm. Lucille flirts in a very, very, what you'd call focused alpha way, even though inside she's deeply needy and vulnerable and wants this home, but she's not going to negotiate on that. That is like, you can either give that to me or you can't, and I need to know up front because I don't have the time. You know, my clock is ticking and I want to be able to have a kid, and are you going to be that guy for me, or I'll move on.
You have such a facility with accents.
I love talking about this role, as you can tell.
I love hearing about it. So this is perfect. You've always had such a great facility with accents, but it's not just the accent. You really capture her voice. I imagine, you obviously had lots to draw from, but how were you
A great dialect coach
you did
called
coach.
Yes, yes. And he worked with me to create the Lucy voice first, Tom Jones, and then he worked with me on the Lucille voice. So, and there's also a rhythm to her and the way in which there's a rhythmic sound, which once I sort of musically got that, it just came suddenly it started to come until I could musically get that, because we didn't go at it phonetically. We went at it through ear. So it's almost like playing by ear, where you play music by ear instead of reading music. That would be how I describe it. And sometimes with an accent, you'll attack it phonetically, and sometimes you can attack it musically. This was the musical way in.
Wow.
And then it was very related to all of the emotions and the body language, because she moved her hands in a particular way. Lucille did, not Lucy. Lucy had a different. Anyway, we're going down the rabbit hole now.
Oh, no. It's so funny.
Let me take you down the rabbit hole.
Please. Also, you starred in a movie called Rabbit Hole, so it's very strange to hear you say that. To hear that phrase from you.
Different rabbit hole. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned this amazing cast, and your primary scene partner is Javier Bardem. At what point did you know he'd be playing Desi?
The beginning.
Really?
Yeah. Aaron said, this is our guy. And I'm like, he's your Desi. And I was like, great. Because he wanted to cast the two, I think. And, every actor that gets offered a role in the film says yes. I'm not used to that. Or every actor that auditions is desperate to get the role. I mean, a lot of times casting is, you're going, oh, well, and then sometimes actors will go, no, I don't want to do that. Not one actor says no.
Yeah.
Which is a big, it's kind of like, you think you can get him, Aaron? Would he do it? And he's like, yes, no, he's already said yes. And you're like, what? Cool. So, yeah. And even there's some fantastic scenes. Anyway, there's so many great actors in this, which needs to be called out, because this is a SAG conversation. And every single performance in this film, I look at and go, and every actor, when they would show up on the set, was really nervous.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Every one of them. JK the least, even though inside he says he was very nervous. So he showed it the least. Others, we wear our heart on our sleeve more. But yeah, it was really like, because there's also, that desire to come in and deliver, because they're great scenes to play, great storytelling. You don't want to let the team down, right?
You don't want to be the weak link.
No. And there were days when I was surrounded by actors standing on the set, particularly the scene where I'm on the set and I'm going, no, go back. And it's very, very precise, the language in that. But there's also anxiety manifesting as control. There's so many different layers to it. And then having to go back into the Lucy voice and the Lucy character and switch back and forth. And it was basically a 10-minute scene, and Aaron shot it in one. And then he shot it from some different angles, but we had a bunch of cameras operating. So he shot it like the whole sequence. And I was just like, help to the other actors. I would literally look over and see Tony Hale and JK and Javier, and I'd be like, help me, in between takes. Because I was like, this is, and they were just like my champions. They'd be like, you got this. No, don't worry. And, it was a struggle at times, but I think that's and you get that on stage. A lot of times you don't get it as much on film because it's just more disjointed. This was like doing a stage play. The need for the support and looking over and just even getting like that on the sideline, like it was like, oh God, okay. Because a lot of times as an actor, all you need is to be told it's okay, a bit of a, and you settle in and then you kind of fly. But if you're kind of looking around going, eh, and Aaron was like, you got it. But you look to your other actors to go, do I? So it's nice when you're all in it together and you're literally seeing beads of sweat on other people's foreheads too.
I don't think
Tony sweats.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Aaron cast a lot of theater actors, people with theater backgrounds. I actually don't know if Javier has done much theater, but the other three main characters certainly have.
Yeah.
And it has that feel.
Yeah. Well, JK goes back to A Few Good Men and being an understudy. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And coming in. Yeah. It's crazy. But that's, when you've been in this industry for a period of time, you do start to cross paths and you're coming back and you're all threading through each other's lives. And so a lot of times there will be a history there.
Have you been wanting to work with Aaron Sorkin for some time? I know you did a movie previously that he wrote, but this is his third film as director, and I just think he keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never thought I would be put into one of his films. I was like, oh my gosh. It just seemed so far off, it didn't seem like he would offer me something or consider me for something or let me even audition for something, because his films get cast and you hear they're being made and you're like, oh, who's in that? So it was really nice when it came my way. I adore him. So
is it intimidating at all? Like, stepping in, you've played real people before, but I don't know if you've ever played anyone as recognizable and revered as Lucille Ball.
And revealed.
And revealing, very revealing, yes.
Yeah. No, I probably, I mean, Virginia Woolf was much different, was a different challenge because people actually didn't really know what she looked like. And vocally, I came in with that voice. I remember coming to Stephen Daldry and I had found a small recording of her voice and I sort of really latched onto that. And he was like, no, absolutely not. You're not to sound like that. I just want you to sound British. And so that was very different when I didn't quite realize what I was taking on with this, which is a good thing.
Wow.
Because I when I was in and having to, and I'd committed, I couldn't then pull out. So when it really came and hit me in the face, what was going to be needed, I was already too far in.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends, and this has actually happened to me, where people have asked us to audition with the Virginia Woolf monologue that I between Richmond and death, I choose death. And nobody wants to do it because everyone's like, Nicole Kidman did it perfectly. Don't ask me to do that monologue.
But how much do we love great writers? I mean, David Hare wrote that, and those words, it's my choice. Mm-hmm. How important are those words? Every human being gets to choose. I mean, those are great words. In the same way that, when Sorkin goes and writes something like the monologue, when I'm standing at 3 a.m. on the soundstage, that monologue, I say, go get a copy of that monologue and read it. It is a fantastic piece of writing, because what it says about a woman, an artist, a writer, a creator, an actress, a wife, it's all in one speech. Mm. And the desire to have and yet also deliver, because people's jobs rely on you, and yet you've created this so that you can have a real life, so that you can have the marriage that you dream of having and the life you dream of having, but it's actually been brought down to this little patch right here. And I mean, it's all so layered. It's a great piece of writing.
Yeah.
But yeah. And to bring it back to, it's human. It's the truth about us as human beings. So those truths, and they're being written and therefore connected to, because we suddenly go, I'm understanding it intellectually, but I'm also feeling it. I'm feeling it. And the intellectual and the visceral, when they collide like that, that's what you want.
It's interesting because
How we're going off here. We are going off.
not to really dive into the rabbit hole in a second here.
But it's really exciting. I mean, that's, as you can see, I'm like, it's exciting. And to be this age and still excited by that, that's in you. That's in you. You know, that's the thing where you go, well, that's why I'm an actor, because I can still feel excitement about that. I can still feel excitement in the place where, and I get to be passionate about my work, but it's not work. It's a combination of just my passion and my life and my artistic sort of alignment and contribution.
And I love that you're still excited by the nomination, because I was like, 15 nominations. At some point, this has to get old, but it is coming from your peers. And, you know, actually looking at those 15 nominations, I was actually shocked to learn you've never won in the film category. You've won in the TV category, but not in film. So it must be.
No, I didn't. But I won in the TV category for Big Little Lies. And I remember I had the flu that night.
No.
I did. Yeah. I was doing Destroyer at the time. Isn't that crazy? And I remember, yeah, so yes, but I've never won. No, I didn't win for any of the film things. So that's why this is a very sweet thing for me. And I think I was disappointed that my cast didn't get it, you know, that all of us together, because but you know, there's so many great ensembles out there right now. But in some ways you go, and Javier and I were both nominated, which was amazing, because then it's like with JK and Nina and Tony and Alia, everyone else is also combined in that. They just are. And I have to say that because it's deeply true.
It's an amazing ensemble. It really is. There's a lot of amazing ensembles this year, but everyone is. But I'm really partial to our ensemble.
Well,
I am too. So there you go. What did end up being the biggest challenge of playing this role? If there was a particular scene or a particular moment, or just even in the preparation, you know, something that's, I don't want to suggest that you struggle with anything as an actor, but
always struggle. No, that's an important thing to say. Always struggle. And heart pounding and adrenaline and nerves and feel like, my gosh, I mean, I struggle. Never, ever going, I'm going to come in now and just fly through this or coast through it. No, there's always an enormous amount of trepidation and fear. And that's why I think it is very much about going, are we going to get there? And honestly, some days and takes and stuff, it's like, are we going to have to reshoot that? Oh, we don't have the money to reshoot it. Yikes. Are they going to be able to pull that together? I mean, that's how you constantly feel is, am I getting this? Am I getting it? And even when people go, you are, it's funny because that little voice is like, oh, they're just saying that to be nice. Oh my gosh, everyone's actually really disappointed and they're having a meeting and they're saying, oh gosh, it's not, you know, that whole terrible inner voice that can really sabotage. But it's, I would think, you know, that's part of it. And where you're just going, help. And that, I think there was a screening of this film. It was in Westwood. I will never forget it. And it was the first time we showed the movie. And I did not realize how much I was holding in.
Really?
In terms of, yeah, because now I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's the same thing with the Lucy, where what if they boo? I mean, it could have been a really, really bad pass. And it was the opposite. And I didn't expect what was coming. So it was probably one of the most emotional moments in my actual career in terms of how much I was holding in and how much I did not realize was riding on it. And all of that being released that night, going, is this for real? And they're not even believing it.
I love
which
that.
was kind of weird. I was saying to my friend going, did that just happen, or are they just being polite, or is that sort of set up like that, or do you like that? Like really, truly. So that's how the insecurity versus the, and that sort of, yeah.
No, I was in that first audience, and it's funny because I was actually going to tell you that from my perspective, it was so cool to be in that theater and first of all, see that movie with an audience and hear the laughter. And there's a certain point sometimes when
I didn't sit through the movie. So all I did was come in at the last 5 minutes and I'm like, how's it going? Is it? And I've been in the position where everyone's like, okay. And you're like, you're gutted, you know?
Yeah.
And this was like, they came and they were like, it's going really well. And then I heard laughter coming from the cinema. And I was like, oh my God. And we're all masked because it was right in that, still in all of that. It was just an extraordinary moment.
I really have to say, like, sitting there watching it with an audience, you sort of have that moment as an audience where you realize, oh, this is good. You know, because you don't know going in to see something. And I remember like very early on being like, oh, wow, like we're in good hands with this one.
Oh, no, it's really like it was really, I mean, it's the same thing as and I didn't quite realize when you're, you know, when you're on stage and suddenly there is applause at the end and it's really genuine and you can feel the applause and it comes through you. And you're like, this actually we might have a shot here. This is connected and this is vibrating in a way where people are affected. And it's an astounding feeling.
Well, I actually want to remind everyone watching at home that the movie is now on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it again and again. And I will, so that I will memorize those monologues. I want to thank
David O. Russell did a Q&A with us and he knew the monologues. He knew all my dialogue. Crazy. He knows the scene, one of my favorite comedic scenes in it where I poke Desi and go, you know, I'm leaving you. And I say to my fiance on the phone, you know, I love you, but you know, not really. And David O. Russell knows that whole phone call.
That is hilarious.
He's a great actor.
But
he is a great actor. Huh?
I bet you were better.
I want to see him do it though.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time, for all your generosity. We so appreciate you being here today. And thank you everyone for watching at home.
Thank you.